Welcome back to our channel. I can clearly see it. You're out here begging for their attention, constantly making plans to attract them, making them laugh, even bending over backward to keep them interested. And what's this doing to you? You've completely lost sight of your own worth. You're leaving your life and value on the table for someone who doesn't even see it. Do you believe that following them, pursuing them, and pleading for their attention will bring about any significant change? Wake up. They won't miss you. They won't value you. And they sure as hell won't come crawling back when you're always there, desperate for their approval. You've done it all, haven't you? And where has it gotten you? Absolutely nowhere. You think attracting or getting someone to love you will complete you. You think that's what makes you whole, but you're wrong. You're not a stoic by chasing them, nor are you powerful by giving your energy away like it's worthless. Where's your backbone and self-respect when you're constantly seeking their validation? You're telling them you don't have any value unless they give it to you. They'll see your worth, but not until you pull back. Stop groveling and show them that you're fine without them. If you want them to miss you, stop trying to make them think their love is the missing piece in your life. Walk away and let them feel your absence to realize what they've lost. You're probably thinking about them constantly, wondering if they're thinking about you, replaying every moment. But you have to do this. You have to step back. Because in this fast-paced world, no one values the person who's always there, always available, always waiting for a scrap of attention. And the hard truth is, they probably prefer it that way. Look at someone who knows their worth, who doesn't need validation to feel complete, who has a life full of passion, who isn't waiting for them to decide their worth, who is strong and independent, and who doesn't care whether they stay or go because they know they'll be fine either way. When you're not even valuing yourself, stop being so damn available. Start showing them what it feels like to miss you. Show them what it's like to stop being their backup plan and start living like someone who knows their own worth. And how are you going to do this? How are you going to make them start missing you the most? That's exactly what we're diving into today. You'll be amazed at how powerful this shift is. It's not just some modern-day trick. They understood the art of making people realize your worth by not always being there. When you stop pouring all your energy into someone who takes you for granted and refocus that energy on yourself, they'll notice and feel it. Trust me, that's when they'll start missing you in ways you never imagined. To your modern life. So get ready, because things are about to change. You'll see just how powerful you are when you stop chasing and make them chase you. Now, it's time to hit ourselves with an affirmation. As our wise, stoic friend once said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. So close your eyes and affirm with me, I refuse to beg. Feel it, where you're no longer chasing and no longer begging. This is your moment. Are you ready to dive into the 10 things that will happen when you give them the absence treatment? Trust me, this is where the real shift begins. Let's be honest. At first, they might not even notice. That's right. They're so used to having you around that it'll take a moment for them to realize something's different. It's like air. You're the air they breathe. And when that suddenly disappears, they panic. But let's face it, this isn't easy. Walking away, pulling back, and giving them the absence treatment is tough. You've spent so much time and energy trying to keep them in your life, trying to hold on, and now you're stepping away. Your mind will mess with you. Thoughts will flood in. What if this makes them pull away even more? Or what if they forget me altogether? That's fear talking. That's the fear of losing something that was never truly in your grasp to begin with. You have to push through that. Why? Because when you keep giving, when you're always there, when you never leave, they won't notice your absence at first. But when you don't return, they realize the dynamic has shifted and it hits them like a slap in the face. Imagine someone in your life who's always there, making plans, calling, and trying to get your attention. One day, they just stop. That feeling, the sudden realization that the person you barely acknowledged has become the one thing you can't stop thinking about, is exactly how they'll feel when you pull back. When you leave a void, they'll feel invisible. They'll start to question themselves. They'll try to figure out why you're gone. They were the ones who made them feel important and valued. And now, that's gone. They're left standing in the dark, wondering what happened to the spotlight that was always on them. Why do they feel invisible? Because they've built their sense of worth, at least partially, on your attention. When you take that away, they're forced to face themselves unprotected. The importance of what they've been ignoring. You're not a backup plan or second thought. You're a person with value, and they're about to see that value in a way they never have before. But let me ask you, what if it's hard? What if every part of you is screaming to reach out, to check in, to just send that one little text? This is where the real battle happens, inside. Maybe they'll move on if you don't keep trying. This is your fear talking, not your power. Fear keeps you stuck in a loop, chasing something that never valued you in the first place. Here's the harsh truth. The more you chase, the more they run. And the more available you are, the less they respect you. People value what they fear losing. Confront that fear. It makes them feel invisible, just like they made you feel for so long. Imagine this. You've been the steady light in their life, always shining. They've been basking in your warmth, assuming it'll always be there. And now the light's gone. What happens when the light goes out? They feel cold and alone, like something crucial has been taken away from them. And that's exactly what they'll feel when you give them the absence treatment. Now, let's flip the script. If you keep showing up, trying, and begging for their attention, you'll teach them one thing they can keep using. You'll never leave. You'll be stuck in a cycle where your worth is tied to their validation. And guess what? They'll never give you the validation you crave, walking away from something you desperately want. But that's the illusion. What you want is their respect and attention. And you won't get that by always being there. By stepping back, you force them to realize what they've lost. They start to feel invisible in your world, and that's when they'll start chasing you. You have to do this. It's going to be hard, and it's going to hurt at first. Every instinct inside you will tell you that walking away will push them further away. But it's the opposite. They won't feel your worth until they feel your absence, and that absence will hit them like a freight train. So here's your affirmation for today. I'm no longer chasing, begging, or waiting for their validation. You're walking away, and trust me, they'll feel it. Next comes the absence treatment. Their daily routines start falling apart. Now, I know this sounds dramatic, but trust me, it's real. People thrive on routine, habits, and patterns, knowing what to expect. When someone has you as their constant, as their safety net, they build their life around that, maybe without realizing it. But when that steady rhythm starts to falter, they'll try to carry on like all's well. But as days pass and you're nowhere to be found, it hits them. Not all at once, but in those quiet, mundane moments of life where they used to expect you and relied on your presence to add that extra layer of comfort or validation. And now, there's nothing but silence. Focusing on yourself, your growth, your path, and not waiting for their validation because you found your own. That's the real power here. You're out there living your life with or without them, while on their end, they're struggling to figure out why things feel off. It's subtle at first. Maybe they don't have someone to vent to after a long day. Maybe they don't get that good morning text that made them feel better. The disruption in their emotional routine is significant. They're realizing that you were a source of stability. And now that stability is gone, it messes with them. Even if they don't admit it, it's like a car that suddenly starts running on low fuel. It still moves, but not as smoothly or efficiently. They find themselves distracted, unable to focus, and they start losing that easy confidence they had when they knew you were always there. During the most random parts of their day, at work, out with friends, even in the middle of conversations with others, that's your absence working its magic. And here's the thing, you're not sitting around trying to guess when they'll crack. You're not playing the waiting game, and that's what's so crucial. You've moved beyond them. You used to be their emotional placeholder, but now you've got things to do, goals to achieve, and people who value your presence. You've stepped out of the shadows, and you're no longer the person they expect to be waiting in the wings. This is the real game. Share. You've stopped basing your self-worth on their attention, and now you're thriving without it. But don't think they're not noticing. As their routine starts to fall apart, they'll realize something critical. You were their emotional support and constant, and now that you're gone, they'll stumble through the day trying to fill the gaps where you once stood. The harder they try, the more they'll realize that no one else quite fits the role you played. They'll start searching for someone else to fill that void. But it won't work. People like you don't come around every day. You brought a unique value to their life. That sense of routine is crumbling, and they can't figure out why everything feels out of sync. While their life is slowly falling apart, you're building yours. You're not sitting there wondering when they'll reach out or holding your breath hoping for a message. You're moving forward and shifting the balance. Let them feel it. They'll try to fill those cracks, but it won't be the same. Their routines, habits, and sense of stability will continue to fall apart while you'll be thriving. Hang in there, because next we'll explore how they feel the sharp sting of loneliness without you. It's about to get even more intense, so stay tuned. You're going to want to hear the third part. This is the moment when reality hits them. The sharp sting of loneliness. You were the constant who filled up their empty moments, and now that space is filled with silence. And trust me, silence can be deafening. At first, they'll try to brush it off. Maybe they'll distract themselves with other people and things that make them feel important. But it doesn't take long for them to realize something's missing. The person who was truly grounded and gave them consistent energy is no longer there. That void starts to gnaw at them. Loneliness is more than just missing someone. It's the feeling of being disconnected, like something crucial is missing from their life. When you've been their emotional anchor, the person who supported them without asking for much in return, they'll start to feel that emptiness in ways they didn't anticipate. Getting that thoughtful message or call from you used to make the world feel a little warmer. But now, without it, the world feels colder and more distant. They never thought they'd feel lonely because they always had your attention on tap. They took you for granted, never imagining a world where you wouldn't be there, eager to be part of their life. Now, they're left with their own company, and it's not as comforting as they thought. Time and energy are gone, and the sharp sting comes when they realize they're surrounded by noise, but feel more alone than ever. They'll try to find comfort in superficial connections, but they won't be able to shake the feeling that something deeper is missing, and that's you. They'll try to reach out to others to fill that void, but it won't work. When the person who made them feel seen and understood is gone, they'll reflect on the times you were there for them, the moments you filled their life with meaning and real connection. You were the one who listened, showed up, and cared without expecting anything in return. Now that you're gone, they're left with a hollow feeling that no one else can fill. It's painful. They start to realize that they didn't just lose someone who cared. They lost someone who gave their life substance and made them feel like they weren't alone in this world. Now they're left with their own thoughts and loneliness, and it stings. Here's the truth. Loneliness isn't just a consequence of being alone. It's a consequence of losing someone valuable, and you, my friend, are valuable. They'll start to realize that, but by then. And it's a harsh reminder of what they had and took for granted. So stand strong in this moment. It's tough, but this is where the shift happens. They'll feel it deep down and know they've lost something irreplaceable. Here's your affirmation: I stand strong. Let it sink in. Drop it in the comments. This loneliness is only the beginning. Next, we'll talk about how they'll start comparing everyone to you. And trust me, this is where your power really shines. Stay with me, folks. They try to fill the gap, maybe meeting someone new or spending more time with others to distract themselves. But soon, they realize something feels off. The new people they interact with might be fun or entertaining, but they're missing that connection, depth, and realness that only you brought into their lives. Their laugh just doesn't hit the same. They start comparing everyone to you. They may not admit it, but internally, it's constant. They'll find themselves thinking, they don't get me like they did, or they don't make me feel the way I felt with them. And slowly, but surely, they'll realize that what they had with you wasn't so easy to replace. You set a standard, and now no one else can reach it. You challenged them, made them feel understood, and most importantly, made them feel seen. Now that you're gone, they're stuck trying to find that same feeling in people who just don't have the same depth. It's like trying to replace a gourmet meal with fast food. It might fill them up, but it doesn't satisfy them. They'll start to face the reality that you're irreplaceable, and trust me, they feel it. They'll find themselves in conversations with others and think, this isn't how we used to talk, or they don't understand me the way they did. They'll notice how shallow other relationships feel compared to what you gave them, and that's where the comparisons start piling up. They might even start questioning why they didn't appreciate you more when they had you. You gave them something real, your time, energy, and authenticity. And that's not something people find every day. The more they interact with others, the more they'll see the differences, and those differences will eat away at them every time they try to move on. They'll keep hitting that wall of comparison, and no one will match up to you. Your life moving forward, you're not waiting for them to realize what they lost. You've already leveled up. You've shown them through your absence that they'll never find someone like you. And now, every relationship they try to form will be haunted by the memory of what you brought into their life. The beauty of this moment is that you're no longer in the picture, but your impact is still being felt every time they compare someone to you. Let them compare. Let them struggle with the reality that no one else will measure up. You've left a mark, and it's not going away. They'll keep searching, keep hoping they'll find another you. But deep down, they'll know it's a lost cause. Here's your affirmation: no one compares to me. Drop it in the comments and let the world know. Let them feel it because they lost someone irreplaceable. And now, they're stuck chasing shadows of what you once gave them. This is huge, but it's not over yet. Stick with me, because up next, we'll dive into the emotional turmoil they start struggling with. You'll see just how much your absence is shaking them up, so don't miss out. They start to struggle with emotional turmoil. It's not pretty. When you were in their life, you were the steady force, the one who brought calm and balance. But now that you're gone, they're left to deal with the emotional mess on their own, and it's hitting them harder than they expected. At first, they'll try to act like nothing's wrong, like your absence doesn't bother them. But deep down, they feel it. They might try to cover it on the surface, but underneath, they're a wreck. When you were around, they didn't have to face their emotions head on. You were there to support them, to listen, to make them feel like everything would be okay. Now that you're gone, they have no choice but to confront those emotions on their own. And let me tell you, it's not easy for them. They start to feel the anxiety, guilt, and regret they buried when they took you for granted. The realization that you're gone is emotional turmoil. It's the storm that rages inside when they realize they've lost something important that they didn't appreciate until it was too late. Now they're left trying to make sense of it all, but they can't. They're consumed by confusion and regret, and it's eating them alive. They're feeling the consequences of their own actions. Maybe even get involved with other people. But none of it works because those emotions are still there, lurking in the background, making them feel unstable and unbalanced. They can't shake it off because they know deep down that they messed up. As the emotional turmoil grows, they might even start to panic. They'll think, what if they've moved on? What if I've lost them for good? They now have to face their own emotional reality, and it's something they never prepared for. While they're struggling with this chaos, guess what? You're not. You've already done the hard work of walking away, of standing strong. Now you're living your life free of the emotional baggage they left behind. They're the ones drowning in it now, and that's not your problem anymore. Here's your affirmation: I release their chaos. Drop it in the comments and let the world know. to deal with the storm they created. We're deep into it now, but you can't stop here. Stay with me, because next we're going to talk about how they can't escape seeing happy couples everywhere. It's going to hit them hard. This is important. They start noticing couples holding hands, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. And it reminds them of something they lost: you. At first, they might not think much of it, but as time passes, the sight of happy couples becomes a constant painful reminder. It's like life is rubbing it in their face. They see what they had with you, what they took for granted, and it stings. The universe has a funny way of showing us what we've lost, doesn't it? Escaping it isn't possible. Everywhere they turn, they see people enjoying the kind of connection they once had but didn't value enough. It's a brutal reality check. The irony is, when you were in their life, they probably didn't even notice these things. They didn't appreciate the way you cared, the time you spent, or the effort you put into the relationship. But now, every happy couple they see serves as a glaring reminder of the happiness they let slip through their fingers. Stuck waiting for them to realize it, you're building your life and growing stronger with every step. You're not living in the past, but they are. They can't escape the constant reminders of the love and care you offered, and it's eating away at them. Those happy couples, they're a reflection of what they could have had if they'd only valued you. So let them feel it. Let them face the reality that while they're stuck in the past, you're moving forward. I am my own happiness. Drop it in the comments and let the world know where you stand. You're not waiting for someone to complete you. You're out there living your best life while they sit there haunted by what they lost. Things are really starting to crumble for them, but it's about to get worse. Stay tuned, because next we'll cover how they face social events alone. They start facing social events alone, parties, gatherings, and events they once attended with you, and trust me, it's uncomfortable for them at first. They might act like they don't care, trying to put on a brave face, but then they realize they had someone to rely on, someone who made them feel confident, comfortable, and understood. Now they're standing there alone, and it's awkward. Every small talk, every interaction feels a little emptier without you. They glance around and see couples and groups of friends, and it reminds them of what's missing. You. That energy. That dynamic. It's gone. They didn't realize how much you anchored them in those social settings until you weren't there. It's even worse when people start asking, "Where's so-and-so?" That question digs at them. They can't escape the fact that your absence is noticeable, not just to them but to others. They're left stumbling through conversations, feeling like something important is missing. Meanwhile, you're thriving. You're out there attending your own events, having a great time, while they're trying to navigate life without that stabilizing presence you provided. Every social event reminds them that they lost something special, and it's a stark contrast to the life you're living now. They might even try to reach out to you again, but deep down, they know it's not the same anymore. Here's the affirmation: I am enough on my own. Drop it in the comments and let them know that you're out here living your life and they're just stuck trying to figure out how to deal with their own loneliness. It's their struggle now, not yours. And they're realizing that slowly but surely. Hold on, we're almost there. Next, we'll dive into how the guilt starts to overwhelm them. You won't want to miss it. They start feeling overwhelmed by guilt. It creeps in slowly at first, like a small weight pressing on their chest, but eventually it becomes a constant companion. Guilt is a tricky thing. It doesn't just go away. They start to reflect on how they took you for granted, the things they said, the actions they didn't take, and how they allowed something precious to slip through their fingers. At first, they might try to push it away, dismissing it as just part of life. But deep down, it eats at them. The guilt starts to manifest in their thoughts, in their interactions with others, in every quiet moment when they're alone with themselves. They'll start asking questions like, "Why did I do that?" Or, "What if I had just appreciated them more?" The truth is, they'll have a hard time forgiving themselves. Guilt has a way of lingering in the heart, and the longer they sit with it, the more unbearable it becomes. They might try to fill the silence with distractions, trying to bury it under work, new people, or new hobbies, but it never quite goes away. It's your absence that shines a light on all the things they could have done differently, and it's painful. They'll start to realize that they can't go back and undo the damage, and the regret will continue to haunt them. They'll replay old conversations in their head, wishing they could say something different, do something better, be more present. Meanwhile, you're not dwelling on guilt. You've learned to let go of what you can't change, to move forward and live your life without looking back. You've already forgiven yourself for the mistakes made along the way, and now, all you have to do is keep moving forward. Here's your affirmation: I release the past. Drop it in the comments and let them know that you're not carrying guilt anymore. You've grown, and they will too, but in their own time. The guilt will weigh on them, but so will the realization that it's too late. They'll see how far you've come, how you've moved on without them, and that's the final blow to their ego. They'll start comparing their own growth to yours, feeling stuck while you thrive, and that sense of inadequacy will continue to pile up. They'll have to face the fact that they didn't treat you as they should have, and now they have to live with that. But here's the thing, they will eventually learn. It's just that it may take time, and it might be too late for them to come back into your life in the way they hoped. It's a hard pill to swallow, but that's the reality of it. They missed their chance, and now they have to live with the consequences. You're already living your best life, and that's something they'll never forget. You've moved on, and that's where your power lies. Their guilt will continue to eat at them, but they'll have to carry it, not you. You've learned to let go, and that's what will continue to propel you forward. The final piece of this is how they'll start to realize that, despite all the hurt, they miss the connection you had. But by this point, it might be too late. Stay tuned, because next we'll dive into how they'll finally recognize that they lost you for good. And that realization will hit them harder than anything else. As time goes on, they'll finally come to the realization that they lost you for good. This is the moment when all the feelings they've been running from come crashing down on them. The guilt, the loneliness, the regret, it all adds up, and they can't ignore it any longer. They'll look back at the memories you shared, the moments that once seemed insignificant to them, but now stand out as the things they miss the most, and it hits them hard. They realize that not only did they lose you, but they lost the connection you two had, something rare, something meaningful. It won't be an easy realization. It'll be like a sudden slap in the face, a harsh awakening that they can't undo the damage. No amount of time, no new relationship, no distraction can replace what they had with you. What they once took for granted is now gone. And that loss is something they'll have to live with. The truth is, they won't find another you. They might search for years, meet new people, try new things, but nothing will ever compare to the real, authentic connection you shared. They'll start to notice how shallow their other relationships feel, how none of them quite measure up to the depth and meaning you brought into their life. They'll try to fill the void with temporary fixes, but deep down, they'll always know that the one person who truly understood them, who truly cared for them, is gone. And here's the toughest part for them. You're not coming back. You've moved on. You've grown. You've learned to thrive without them, and that's something they can't take away from you. While they're left with the weight of their mistakes, you're building a future for yourself, one that's not tied to their past. They'll eventually have to accept the truth. They lost you for good. It won't be easy, but it's the reality they'll have to face. You gave them everything, and now they have to deal with the aftermath of losing something truly irreplaceable. The pain of this realization will stick with them, but they won't be able to turn back time. And here's the powerful part for you. You'll never be the person they left behind. You've evolved, you've learned, and now you're stronger than ever. Their loss is your gain. The lessons you've learned from this experience will shape you into a better, wiser version of yourself. You're not waiting for anyone to come back into your life. You're living it to the fullest, and that's where your power lies. Here's your affirmation. I am irreplaceable. Drop it in the comments and let the world know that you're not just someone to be forgotten. You're someone to be remembered, someone who left a lasting impact on the world and on the people who were lucky enough to know you. As for them, they'll always remember you, but it'll be too late. The damage has been done, and the lesson they learned is that they can't take someone like you for granted. It's a hard lesson, but it's the only one that matters now. So stand tall. You've done the work, you've walked away, and now you're free. Keep living your life. Keep thriving. And remember, you are irreplaceable.